You know, it was kind of this weird social media thing that was out there, and I thought, well, I'll just sign up for it.
Yeah, I got an account on Twitter, I think about a year before I did anything with it. At the time, I just thought, well, if it takes off, it would be stupid if somebody else had my name on it.
Someone just told me about, you know, this great new tool that would allow you to use social media, and I was blogging since 2001, so I said, why not? And they said, the first thing they said to me was like, it's like texting with a lot of different people at the same time.
I think my mom was one of my first 100 followers because she always wants to know what I'm doing, and I was like, just follow me on Twitter and you'll know what I'm up to.
Didn't use it for a while very much and thought it was kind of silly, and then started using it more and following more, and it's been awesome. It's meeting people, talking to people that have similar interests that you wouldn't meet otherwise, and it's been a news source essentially for a lot of people.
And then I realized as a tech writer, Twitter is a great resource for connecting with readers, connecting with sources. As a journalist, you're always finding these interesting tidbits that usually they get stuck in your notebook. Maybe you can get them into a blog post, but not all of them are going to warrant that effort. And it's where you can simply see something, throw it out there, and see how people react to it pretty much in real time.
In 2007, I was working with a volunteer, an Intel volunteer in Portland, and complaining about not having a lot of other educators that were into technology. And he said, oh, I've just started this really cool program called Twitter, application called Twitter. You need to try it. And just follow some of the people that I'm following because they're all really geeky and they're really into tech. And so I signed up at that point and started following really technology-driven people. That's how I got into it.
I think since then it's really evolved for me because I now use Twitter as a main sort of like media consumption for what's happening in my industry, and then have a bunch of influencers who both I'm influenced by, but also people that I just sort of keep track with because I work in the technology community.
I'm not a news person, so I always look upon Twitter as my breaking news media. That's how I keep in touch with all the alerts. I keep in touch with people who share the same interest with me, like space exploration.
And I didn't really use it. I kind of lurked, but I didn't really tweet too much. And then a friend of mine at work who was really into Twitter, she's like, just start. Once you start, you won't stop. And so I just, like one day, I rode my bike downtown Houston and started tweeting and just kept on tweeting and found all these cool things that you could follow, and ultimately, obviously, followed NASA.
I started following bigger accounts once they started to tweet, and among them was NASA.
I never heard of a Tweetup before, and I signed up for it thinking I had no chance. They chose only 150 people out of well over 4,000 people that applied for it.
I noticed on NASA's Twitter one day that they have people signing up for a Tweetup. And I signed up for it and thought, this is just never going to happen. I don't think I'm ever going to be picked.
I got an email from Stephanie, and I actually misread her email. I assumed that she was communicating about me on a waiting list still, that somebody might just come in after this cancellation so I would be selected. But no, she informed me that I got selected immediately. And I was so excited, and I got on Twitter, I called all my families back home. I basically woke them up from their sleep and informed them that I got selected. I just couldn't believe it. It was so exciting.
I was at work. I opened up my personal email and I was like, holy shit.
I was actually 40 miles south of Bend, stuck in my Jeep in 4 feet of snow, but I had my iPhone and I knew where I was, so it wasn't dangerous. And the email came through while my son and I and a friend were digging the Jeep out. And I could not do anything for about 45 minutes. I was so excited.
I was in New York City meeting with a client, and I wasn't the main part of the meeting. I just happened to see my email pop up, and I could see, and I just happened to glance down at my phone and saw, and I'd been rejected before, but on the wait list before, and I saw it was a different format. And I went, excuse me, and I kind of had to glance to see. So then I had to contain my excitement for a little while I met with the client.
I was in the first round of people being accepted, and I was just getting ready for bed, and I thought, oh, I haven't checked my personal email, I'll just look through it real quick, and I thought it was spam, and I just zoomed right by it. And all of a sudden I kind of went, NASA Tweetup, And so I went back and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a rejection. And I opened it and I was just like, oh, I was like jumping around and like my roommate's like, what is wrong with her? And I was just like, oh my God. She could hear me like from down the hall and I was just like so excited. I couldn't believe it.
And so as soon as I got the email, I think I emailed Stephanie right back right then. I was like, I'm in, I'll be there. I'll book flights now.
I was actually the last person selected for the 134. I was on the wait list, and I got selected Friday before the first, the second attempt. And like everybody was planning on coming already, and I was getting like really sad because I was on the wait up list and nothing was happening. And then suddenly I got this email like Friday, very late at night, saying, hey, you got selected, you have to be here like by Wednesday. And I was just like screaming in my living room, and my husband came and was like, what's going on? I said, I got selected.
This has been quite an experience. It was really cool, you know, we were all so excited when we were here and we had our twent and there were celebrities here and everyone we just thought this was so cool, and we were getting the red carpet treatment. We got to go at all these cool behind the scenes, you know.
The whole experience overall, sharing it with 150 Twitterers, some of them who I have been communicating on Twitter for so long, and finally meeting them and sharing the same experience together. I mean, it's indescribable.
Part of it was getting to meet these people that you had kind of got to know already on Twitter, and you know, seeing some of the people that do variety, people that have blogs that are followed by 1 million people. It's just kind of insane, and the variety of people, what they do, and a lot of people who are experts at whatever field they're in across different fields.
I came sort of not sure what I was getting into and not sure who would be here, what I would learn, but really feeling like I needed to be inspired.
More than anything, being a part of the Tweetup and actually getting to hear the scientists talk about their work, and to have astronauts come in with to talk with us, not just to give us presentations, but to answer questions about, you know, them as human beings and their aspirations and their dreams, and what the space program has meant to them. And so the human aspect of it has been really moving to me, and being part of all of this.
I think it was meeting astronauts, both retired and current astronauts, and realizing how much they have done for us as a society, and realizing that they're going up, the guys today are going up and risking their lives, and that it really is a job for them. And that is emotionally very, very touching for me.
My first 2 days at the NASA Tweetup were pretty phenomenal. I found the astronauts that we heard from, and just the other people who had so much knowledge about, you know, how they're building a spacesuit to how they're educating people about science from within the Tweetup members themselves, to be truly inspiring.
We got to go in the vehicle assembly building, which not a lot of you know, tourists get to do, and see, you know, where the Apollo program, you know, the Saturn rockets were assembled for the Apollo program, and where all the space shuttles have been stacked, and of course the launch today, the chance to go see that, and then yesterday to go see it as the RSS was rotated back and see the shuttle within about like 600 yards.
Yesterday, the retraction, that was one of the most, I cried when I saw, you know, Endeavour like up and close. That was like incredible.
I don't think people really understand just how much work goes into this. The RSS retraction that we were able to see, talk about a well-oiled machine. That thing is huge, but it was almost silent, and it happened so quickly when it opened up and you could see Endeavour, and it was like a butterfly coming out of a cocoon. It was just so amazing.
The launch for me just felt like it would be icing on the cake, because I got to meet some of the astronauts and hear from some of the scientists of the International Space Station.
To see that it's not just like putting people out there. It's the entire, you know, process that goes, and what happens, and all the experiences they are doing over there. So you learn a lot. I mean, I learned so much in those 2 days that, you know, happened, and that was amazing. That itself, I would come back just for that.
I I was pretty disappointed when the launch was scrubbed the first time I came down here, the 29th.
It was so disappointing not seeing it go on the 29th. It was really disappointing.
You know, there had already been one delay. The launch was originally scheduled for April 19th. They kicked it back 10 days. There was a traffic situation around the space station. And we seemed to be in good shape. Although I admit, the morning of the 29th, I was convinced we were going to scrub for weather. It was overcast, really windy. I thought, well, you know, we'll try it again 2 days from now.
And everything looked like it was going for the launch the first time. And, you know, the astronauts did that U-turn in the Astrovan. And we were all like waving and waving. We were so excited. They were supposed to go. And all of a sudden, everybody started turning around. And we're just like, this doesn't really seem right. And everybody's on their Twitter feeds on their phone. And all of a sudden, somebody yells, scrub. And we're like, no.
And instead, we got to within 3.5 hours. And we were all just perplexed to see the Astrovan, you know, come down that road, stop in front of the Launch Control Center, pull down that side road, stay there. We're thinking, guys, the pad is that way. And then turn right back around.
That was like really, really tough. We had all this anticipation, and we got here and suddenly it was like, okay, there will be no shuttle. The experience was amazing, but it was like that little piece, like that little, how do they say, on the top of the cake, you know, the icing on the cake, yeah, that was missing.
So it's so disappointing, you know, and then there's all these people that you're like, oh my gosh, we're all going home, and who knows who's making it back.
I decided sort of on a whim to do one of the group housing situations. So I was in Challenger House, and that was, I think, the highlight of my first, you know, with the scrub, there's this real low point, especially with the scrub happening right in front of us. And having a group of people who understood what you were going through and sort of thinking about it the same way to talk to and share the experience was really meaningful. And we had Friday, so the scrub happened on Friday in the midday, and we went back to the house, and then we all went out for drinks. We got dinner. We ended up running to like 5 astronauts at a bar who were singing, and we had a great night and just bonded as a house. And for me, that was a huge positive and probably one of the best parts of being part of the NASA Tweetup.
I think it was when Alan Boyle posted the picture of the double rainbow yesterday that I knew it was going to launch today. I knew it, and I've just been like bubbling over with that ever since. And, you know, like with no doubts, I have not had a doubt that that launch was going to go out, not for a single second all day. Some people came back and they said, oh, there's some tiles, there's some this problem and that. I was like, not happening, not happening, this is going to happen.
You don't know really what to expect, as people say it's, you know, life-changing, or it's you know, it's a phenomenal experience. Of course, that's right, but you still don't know what to expect when you watch it.
You know, I'd seen the launch videos before online and had sort of done a little bit of homework to sort of figure out what does it actually look like, what's it feel like, and try to be prepared. But there's nothing that prepares you for actually watching how we send humans into space.
You know, people can prepare you for this. They can tell you what you're going to see and what you're going to hear, but there's nothing like seeing it and feeling it for yourself.
I think I am still shaking from the launch, and it is 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 23 seconds, and since it launched.
I just saw, hands down, the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. I saw STS-134 lift off the pad, and I mostly saw it, I say, because I was crying extremely hard at the time, and so I saw it through tears, which is good.
Then when the space shuttle, when they got down to the 5-minute time, I just started tearing up. I got so excited, and when it got within 1 minute, I just started crying, and it was a pretty emotional experience for me.
But there's a reason for it, because when you do finally see it go up, it's incredible. I just can't believe it. I actually got to see it, you know? I'm sorry, it's just finally really hitting me. It was like seeing another sun going up through the clouds right there. And there were people in that sun. This is how we get people up in space.
Where first you don't hear anything, and you think, wow, this is happening, but I don't hear anything. And then suddenly it is so bright you're blinded, absolutely blinded by this thing that's going up that is so blinding bright.
I was just blown away by how bright it was, and I'd heard people say about the night launches are pretty cool, which it would have been nice to see a night launch, but it was really bright even during the day.
And then this burst of incredibly white light coming from the solid rocket boosters. Like, what's the sun doing there? And as you're sort of processing the fact that this incredible fireball is coming up, boom, it's already cleared the tower, you know, doing that rotate. And, you know, a second or so later, after which time everyone's cheering and yelling, you know, then the noise comes across the water. And it's this thunderous crackling. Like if you took your fireplace, increased the volume by about 100, you know, you can sort of feel it, maybe not pounding you in the chest, but it's getting to you right here.
Being able to see it and then the sound coming at you about 14 seconds later was just so overwhelming. Emotionally, everything, it was just completely overwhelming.
Then the sound, I started to hear the sound of it, the popping and crackling and the roar. It was deafening.
Just seeing its power and feeling that shake in your chest, it's almost like it was louder inside of me and you know, vibrates inside of you rather than being, you know, even what you hear. And just seeing that pure power, I mean, how much power it takes to get that rocket up, you know, to get that shuttle up into space. It's pretty amazing and pretty inspiring.
And it's so fast. On TV, it looks like the shuttle is, you know, flying into space. Here, it's like it's being thrown into space.
You know, of course, the clouds rolled in, but the flip side of that is we were able to hear, I think, a little bit better. That's what I'm telling myself. The sounds of the shuttle going up, but it's so fleeting, and it just felt appropriate.
And then after it's practically disappeared in the clouds, then boom, there's this shaking that hits you. And it's hitting you so hard that you can't even breathe properly. Like your lungs aren't even working properly. I think even like your heart may flutter, I don't know.
It seems both like outdated and archaic in some ways, like it's a rocket and you've strapped people into on top of it and you're sending them up to space. But it's pretty beautiful and amazing. And the sound, and like I felt the sound hit me, you know, the 6 to 8 seconds after it actually happened. And there's like this connection point with just this really unique experience and the amount of detail and precision that has to be right in order for that to happen. And I think when that sound hit me, all of that hit me, and it was pretty powerful.
The space shuttle is a pyramid of thousands and thousands of people over decades working and striving for the future, and we get to see it, and we get to see it launch. That alone will make me cry buckets every time. Very worth it.
I don't know if I just thought it was going to be longer, or maybe I just wanted it to be longer to keep the experience going, but it was so fast. Very well-oiled machine and organized and efficient, and everything just works. And it works because we make it work. But it blows my mind how much we're able to do.
But then it hits you. You know, what you just witnessed was brave astronauts, incredible science, like the very best that humanity can put together as a teamwork, lift off our planet and head into outer space to meet up with other great humans. And I'll never be the same. I'll never be the same. It was just exactly as wonderful as I hoped it would be. And thank you to Stephanie and to NASA and all the Tweetup people. I'm really, really grateful.